Shall we?
People can, listen.
For indie authors by indie authors, where we discuss today's topics and issues that matter to the business of the self-published author. I am your moderator, Wade Finnegan, and my co-panelists are Michelle Reed.
Hello.
There's Michelle, and Xavier Granville.
Internets.
And our special panelist for this episode is Anthony, I hope I don't screw up his last name too bad, Melchiorri.
Really cause you some damage when they say it doesn't make sense when
Sci-fi medical thriller writer. He has 6 titles he claims under his belt, which is great. But in addition, we brought him on here because he's also he works in a really cool field. He's a tissue engineer, blood vessels. He does work for children with congenital heart defects. He works with like really cool technology and stuff, and so he writes all this speculative fiction. It's just like really awesome. So, and out there help saving people. So it's awesome. That's exactly why you brought him on. So we're gonna pick his brain a little bit about some of that science geeky stuff, what it's like to. So again, Tony, thank you for being on tonight. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
The writing process, like, are you super organized because of the type of work you do in your day job, or completely different in your writing life? I'm going to guess that you're really organized about it and disciplined.
Keep the show viable. We do appreciate our viewers' support.
Science where you have to plan all these experiments out, and if you don't know what you're doing and you run into an experiment, you just fail catastrophically. You cost your lab thousands of dollars, all that kind of stuff. So when I got serious about writing a novel, and I was tired of all, I tried to be like a pantser, but every time I'd write my first chapter or two, I just lose it.
Desk and places like that, and like, I want you to write my. Like, what? All I had to do is ask.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Little extra change in the. Xavier, what's new with you? Anything?
Well, we were talking about the box set anthology that I'm working with, where a bunch of authors are putting together sci-fi retellings of like Grimm-style fairy tales. Just nice to see that, like, since I talked about it last week, the number of authors just like doubled. There's been, so many people there have been emailing me just saying, I want
word count goals for each. So like during the weekdays, I'll set depending on when I know my free time, I'll set like 1,000 to 2,000 words during the weekday, and then on the weekend I'll just sit my butt in the chair and write 8-10 hours if I can. So I'll shoot higher for between 5,000 to 8,000 words. That gets the job done.
You ever tried no, you don't have to because you don't have kids. I tried.
There's millions of authors involved, and probably won't be great. Yeah, we'll see. It's just nice to see that since talking about it online, just through the podcast, there's been a lot of people coming out and showing support, and
that works the best, because then I have like this peer pressure, like people around me working, or there's other people there all day, so I can goof off and go.
The Spurt community coming together. All right, so Tony, we won't neglect you any longer.
That's the important part.
And they kick you out too. Like, you sit there all day and they take a table all day and they don't care. Just kidding. Just your writing journey.
Yeah. So I mean, I can start out with the cliche. Like, I think most of us here, most of us writing. I started out writing just silly short stories when I was younger, and then the requisite really crappy poetry through junior high and high school, and then finally kind of had a rest for a while. And then I decided for a long time I wanted to get into writing, but throughout high school I started getting more into this. I first got my degree in biomedical engineering, but Iowa also has, and I think Nick Smith talked about this too, but they have a great writing program surrounded by a lot of great writers. It was in one of my first classes that I.
Well, maybe just for the you have the Black Market DNA series, the God code. I guess, was there any kind of moments when you were working in your science field that directly inspired those individual kind of concepts? With having the black market DNA thing is a pretty
writing side. So I got back into writing from that, and was a while before I started.
A lot from the work that you do with children. I thought that could have inspired that.
Yeah. So the God Organ was kind of this books out there. Started looking at podcasts like this and the self and that, and reading a couple books. Pretty much that's where I decided to bite the bullet and just go straight to self-publishing. Got my first book out there last June. So that concept came pretty easily or naturally to me. And then the other big thing was I started reading. I mean, people in sci-fi are probably familiar with the idea of the technological singularity, or the idea that artificial intelligence will eventually surpass the point where people can't control it. The idea it'll start programming itself. Lucky, right now I don't have any kids or anything. I don't have any other obligations. I basically, sacrifice kind of the social life outside of work, but it's sticking with a schedule, words every night. I think a lot of people, have said that before on the show and stuff. And then the other thing I found really effective, if I want to actually be or productive, it's all about planning ahead. I was working at McDonald's, and when I was working at McDonald's, there weren't always savory characters working there. There were people that would also literally deal drugs out of the drive-through window. So
what?
Xavier, jump in any time if you don't want me hogging all the questions. But also
these crazy people that just seem like larger than life working at McDonald's doing these, okay, whatever chemical you're giving me, I'll just throw in my body or whatever. And so I realized, well, what if there's we take this to the future naturally, where we have these medical treatments, we have these genetic enhancements, and people are just willing to throw those in their body because they don't know any better and buy them cheaply. And what if those start going wrong? If somebody cuts your drugs or laces your drugs with something, can't they do that with your genetic enhancements? That's kind of where that series came from. Kind of a twisted, dark experience, but that's where the best stuff comes from. Jokes, and that played a huge part at Oregon. So it's all these little.
I'm like, if that happened.
In either discussions or through, I'll have to do the background research still and figure out to make sure I know what I'm talking about when I get in depth on some of these more unfamiliar topics. So it's a little bit of both, I guess.
Cool, very cool. Xavier, you got a question?
A lot of people kind of get into that whole art inspiring technology. Yeah. I guess it'd be cool if you could break down, when you respectively kind of, it seemed pretty organically the way you're not really doing one or the other, even when you were kind of just starting off, and one field was inspiring the other. And then nowadays,
housekeeping seems like our feed on the website is being a little.
Yeah, I think what I've found, and I've talked to a couple other people that are in similar situations like this, a couple other self-pub authors that are either scientists or researchers or engineers or something, and a lot of what happens with us, I think, is, from what I've heard, and it's true.
People have commented that it's going slow. So anyway, so Tony, let's talk a little bit about your launch strategies with your books. Seem to be doing pretty well. Are you really focusing just on the niche, and what sort of things are you doing for yourself?
Yeah. Okay. So I followed. I guess this is kind of like a two-pronged attack that I tried here. With the God Organ and the Human Forged, I did the 99-cent launches, and those started off pretty strong. The Human Forged into that. I did this thing where I made sure that I got people, early reviewers, that they were doing like the imaging, and suddenly you can see how that's kind of actually become a reality now, where we can get these really cool, crisp medical imaging, like on-point diagnostics. But I would say that's kind of a natural progression, maybe not as much as art inspiring science. The big role I think that art has in regards, in my opinion, kind of goes back to Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, with the idea that a lot of times at these science conferences and when scientists, about their work, they're always talking about how to bring it to the next level and to objectively, like, hey, we want to deliver this type of drug into this type of cell deal every once in a while and do the 99 cents secure all, e-reader news today, free Kindle books and tips, all those big 99-cent newsletter players. And I think that's been pretty good at resurging it every once in a while. The Human Forge, I was lucky and got accepted for BookBub. That's a huge part that, Frankenstein taught me back in the day. And Michael in science fiction, those really good science fiction books, like David Brin's Earth is great at this, is taking all these technologies and science and taking it to the next level. And what happens if we don't think about this constant progress, or if we don't rein that in, So that's kind of to a pretty, I guess, niche market, which is a lesson learned on my part, of course, and something that I'm going to readjust when I start with some of my books that will be coming out in the future. But anyway, with the Black Market DNA series, I decided to kind of make that a slow burn. So I haven't really actually launched that quite like the God Organ and the Human Forge. And my idea there is kind of following some of the advice by people like Lindsay Brown, who talk about, get 3 to 5 books out before you really start focusing on the marketing. So I have a set of countdown deals that are going to happen with my Black Market DNA series. Now that I have 3 books out in a novella, I'm going to give the novella away for free, and then set Enhancement, which is the first read, like you said, in archaeology or anthropology or whatever, newsletters, and try to reignite that series with.
Have that, understanding of the two sets of thinking, because a lot of people can.
Those are kind of my 2 different strategies, and I'm like any good researcher, I just want to experiment, try different things, and see what works best for my market. Since I'm going with this, since I have this like strange medical thriller science fiction niche.
But flaws, science.
Wide, like Kobo and such, or are you just
too lost in your own little world?
It felt like one of those people that was thinking this. So I threw everything into Kindle Unlimited, and I was going to try to see how KDP Select worked out. So I've been acted in reality. That's the best, probably the scariest type of. Don't pick up on like some of those other books, or they start to slow down on Amazon. I think, if you don't have many any sales or borrows, I'm definitely going to try going wide with those. So to be determined in the future.
Okay, cool. Kate Morgan, since I don't see Michelle up on the screen right now, she's giving you a kudos for your cover art.
I got my check.
Series and the Paramita over at Creative Paramita Designs. That's Paramita. She did an excellent job, and I did Nick Smith's Extinction Cycle, kind of like I started science, where you have to plan all these experiments out, and if you don't know what you're doing and you run into an experiment, you're just gonna fail catastrophically. You cost your lab thousands of dollars, all that kind of stuff. So when I actually got serious about writing a novel, and I was tired of all, I tried to be like, but every time I'd write my first chapter or two, I just lose it, and I wouldn't know where I'm going. So I started, I think it's called the snowflake method, where you start with like the premise of your book, and then you add, okay, here's the 3 major events, and then you kind of keep building up like that. So I definitely do
mine. I was
plan. That being said, I usually get halfway through the book and halfway through my outline, and when I'm writing it, I usually have to trash half of the outline, because I find there's organic.
No yet, and then I'm like, well, what about this? It's beautiful. You can read someone's mind. Scott Richards.
I'll set, depending on when I know my free time, I'll set like 1,000 to 2,000 words during the weekday, and then on the weekend I'll just sit my butt in the chair and write, 8-10 hours if I can. So I'll shoot higher for between 5,000 to 8,000 words. So that
yeah, I would say so.
Have you ever tried no, you don't have to because you don't have kids. I tried like a where you really focus, and it helped with the focus, but I was so tired that I just slept for like the whole second day.
I'll go to Panera's and then grab lunch there and then just sit there till close. So I just sit there, keep refilling my drink or whatever. That works the best because then I have like this peer pressure, like there's other people around me working or there's other people there all on or whatever. I have to focus solely on getting the words
and your
down. Like
needs are met.
I go far.
It's the bathroom.
Yeah, take care of you. That's
You sit there all day and then you take a table all day and they don't.
All these people who there's like this community of people at the local Paneras that come there on the weekends. Like there's this lady that all she does is she spends 6 hours entering like different sweepstakes and contests there. So then there's other people that are writing there. Or, I don't know, people doing accounting stuff or something. I don't know. So it's they're generous enough to let us all sit there.
Panera is.
That's right. They'll be sending me that.
Stuck in the mail. Don't worry.
About marketing, but I didn't know if you had anything else on the that you wanted to follow up, or are we good?
Well, maybe just for the you have the Black Market DNA series and the God Code. I guess was there any kind of moments when you were working in your science field that directly inspired those individual kind of steps? With having the Black Market DNA thing is a pretty specific medical sci-fi as far as the concept goes, and then with the other series I found there's a lot from the work that you do with children. I thought that could have inspired that.
Yeah. So the God organ was kind of this. There's two separate inspirations or two main thrusts for each of these. So I'll do the God organ because that's more serious. But that one primarily came about because I work with like artificial organs, tissue engineering stuff. So that was pretty easy that concept came pretty easily or naturally to me. And then the other big thing was I started reading. I mean, people in sci-fi are probably familiar with the idea of the technological singularity, or the idea that artificial intelligence will eventually surpass the point where people can't control it. The idea it'll start self-programming itself. There'll be a biological singularity where we enhance our lifespan so greatly that people just live, for virtually forever with this kind of near immortality, and the repercussions that would have on everything from culture to our daily lives would just be astronomical, and we really don't know how to predict that. Now, I'm not saying I tackled that well because that's such a crazy subject, but I did the best I could with the God organ and with that question. So with Black Market DNA, a funny story, but back when I was like 4 or something, I spent 4 years working at McDonald's, and when I was working at McDonald's, there weren't always savory characters working there. There were a couple of people that would also literally deal drugs out of the drive-through window. So kind of inspired the idea of the market of these crazy people that just seem like larger than life working at McDonald's doing their thing. And I realized there's these people just trusting these chemical, you're giving me, I'll just throw in my body or whatever. And so I realized, well, what if there's like we take to the future naturally where we have medical treatments, we have these genetic enhancements, and people are just willing to throw those in their body better and they can buy them cheaply. And what if those start going wrong? Like if somebody cuts your drugs or laces your drugs with something, can't they do that with your genetic enhancements? So that's kind of where that series came from. Kind of a twisted, dark experience, but that's where the best stuff comes from. I
had worked at a McDonald's where a guy was dealing pot out of the window, and that did not inspire a multi-book series out of me. Well, I just kind of situation rubbed in my head. I'm like, oh, if that happened, huh.
Like back then I was like, what the hell is going on? But looking back at that 10 years, 15 years down the line, then it's a little more inspirational suddenly.
Yeah, sitting back there and just thinking, am I really in Canada?
Yeah, it's actually happening.
I didn't think things like that happened in good old jolly Canada.
It was like there's a certain type of Happy Meal you ordered, and that's when the guy would throw his stuff in there, and they'd pass it off in the window.
Yeah,
That's ridiculous.
yeah. For the Bob Marley extra crisp.
$4.20. There you go.
What I'm doing.
All right, before we get to the next question, little housekeeping. Seems like our feed on the website is being a little of a butthead tonight. So if you guys have questions or listening live, if you want to jump onto YouTube, please go ahead and leave them there. We'll check. Maybe we'll even check Google Plus's feed, even though I don't tend to do that one. But anyway, yeah. So if you're having trouble with the site, we apologize. Most of the time it works really well, but a couple people have commented that it's going slow. So a little bit about your launch strategies with your books. Seem to be doing pretty well. Are you really focusing just on the niche, and what sort of things are you doing to market yourself?
Yeah. Okay. So I followed. I guess this is kind of like a two-pronged attack that I tried here. With the God Organ and the Human Forged, I did the 99-cent launches, and those started off pretty strong. The Human Forged picked up. And I guess before I get too far into that, I did this thing where I made sure that I got people, early reviewers, that were willing to leave a review. I actually did with the God Organ. I put the before I actually launched the ebook. So that way, you could early. So when a lot of those promo sites started changing the rules, so you had to have an actual book link or you had to have a certain number of reviews, even with some of the new releases, I was able to show that I had that, secured my 99-cent promo for the God Organ, and that did pretty well for the first couple months. It's definitely slowed down, but I'll do a select KDP select deal or the countdown deal every once in a while and do the 99 cents, secure all, e-reader News Today, free Kindle books and tips, all those big 99-cent newsletter players, and I think that's been pretty good at kind of resurging it every once in a while. Before I was lucky and got accepted for BookBub on that one, and so that's kind of kept that, I guess, meandering along. With the Black DNA series, I was no runaway success like Dan Wilmot did an excellent job of getting his books out there and picking up a following. Right, I was writing to a pretty, I guess, niche market, which is a lesson learned on my part, of course, and something that I'm gonna readjust when I start with some of my books that will be coming out in the future. But anyway, with the Black Market DNA series, I decided to kind of make that a slow burn series. So I haven't really watched that quite like the God Organ and the Human Forged. And my idea there is kind of following some of the advice by people like Lindsay Broker, who talk about, get your 3 to 5 books and start focusing on the marketing. So I have a set of countdown deals that are going to happen with my Black Market DNA series now that I have 3 books out all the way for free, and then set Enhancement, which is the first book in the Black Market DNA series, down to 99 cents, and do just a huge kind of bombardment of newsletters and try to reignite that series with all 3 of those being out there. So as soon as somebody hits the book 1, they can hit book 2, they can hit book 3, and grab the novella, or however they get into that series. So those are kind of my 2 different strategies. And I'm, like any good researcher, I just want to, experiment, try different things, see what works best for my market. Since I'm going with this, since I have this like strange medical thriller science fiction niche.
So you did say some KDP stuff in there, but with your others, are you also, or are you just?
Right now, I was one of those people that since I started right before Kindle Unlimited launched, I kind of felt like one of those people that was thinking the sky was falling, so I threw everything into Kindle Unlimited and I was going to try to see how KDP Select worked out. So I've been in actually KDP Select for all those books since Kindle Unlimited came out. That being said, if things don't pick up on like some of those other books or they start to slow down on Amazon, I think if you don't have many any sales or borrows to sacrifice, I'm definitely going to try going wide with those. So, but again, that's kind of an experiment to be determined in the future.
Okay, cool. Kate Morgan had another question, since I don't see Michelle up on the screen right now. She's she's giving you a kudos for your cover art, and wants to know who does those, or who do you work with, or is that you?
Definitely not me. The Black Market DNA series and the Human Forge were done by Paramita over at ARAMITA. She does an excellent job, and I think she did Nick Smith's Extinction Horizon or Extinction Cycle. So you've seen that.
Yeah.
So she's definitely talented. She knows what she's doing with the sci-fi stuff. And then the God Organ was Adresius over at Rocking Self-Publishing Covers. So I've been fortunate in finding some good designers that I give them like a couple details. I don't really know what I want. I'm not good at the image stuff. So hey, this is sci-fi. Throw on there, and then do it.
Just take this.
Yeah. Like the image stuff the better.
I did with mine. I was like, it's a girl, and he was like,
I wish that all my clients were as easy as you, Michelle, though, because with you really know. Well, what about this? It's beautiful.
Yeah, I love it. You cover designers can just read our mind.
When you can read someone's mind like that, I did for my friend Scott Richards. I had sent him recent mock-ups, and he just all he could really say was like, "You dick, I hate it." It's what was this? It's fucking perfect.
I love that. That's great.
Yes. Okay, I lost my train. Did we or is it?
I was checking.
I'm scrambling. Egg. Let me see here.
Janelle's is here, so. Okay, I'm gonna look for this one. Continue. Sorry.
Speculative fiction authors tend to have a certain kind of series, like the Black Market DNA and the God Organ. The way that you describe them, they're pretty different. But if after see that person's point of view slowly as even if the series aren't.
Yeah. With the Black Market DNA series, one thing that's real big for me is there's this. So back in the heyday when computer scientists or just garage hackers were working on developing computers, the stories of Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, all that kind of stuff. People were tinkering around in the garage at their homes, and they had access to hardware that they could just play around with and come up with all these awesome innovations in computers. And then anybody can code from anywhere, and anybody can create any kind of computer script from anywhere for virtually no cost. Similar, that's actually happening with biology right now. It's kind of an underground thing, but there's this movement called the biopunk movement, and this sounds straight up science. This is groups like this who will develop like disease diagnostic tests or cultures in their garage. You can buy a bunch of lab equipment, either used or new stuff now, dropping in prices just like computers have. So one of the things that I like to play around with is, since anybody can access, and it's really easy to order a custom DNA sequence actually, or a custom virus. What if people start messing around with that in their garage, and what are kind of the dangers faced by not looking at the crazed person who wants to unleash a genetically engineered pathogen that we've never seen before into the environment. So it sounds crazy, but I like to deal with stuff like that in that series.
Yeah, that's very cool. Good answer.
Good answer.
I was just saying, yeah, you that's perfect.
Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Given your background, did you market your book to your colleagues or just go for online ads?
I just pretty much just went straight for online ads. I hate to say it, but a bunch of my colleagues don't read really that much. Like, they'll read a couple books a year or something. And a couple of them are in like a book club. But yeah, the large majority of people in my field, or the people I work with, that aren't big into into actually the science fiction genres. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Like, go to I have a scientist cousin, and that she's like, well, I'm either working, scientisting, or having a drink.
But, okay, so this is probably generalizing awful, but the people in the computer science people that I know are more like that. The people in like bio stuff are the more of the happy hour type of people.
Yeah. I'd like to think that they're just thinking they're smarter than that. Otherwise, it's not worth my time or respect.
I love comic books too, so I wouldn't discriminate either way. Sure it's that.
Tony, spreading your wings out into other genres, what would you like to go into? And will you do a pen name?
So I'm actually I just finished the first draft on a post-apoc book, so I guess it's not too far, but I'm going post-apocalyptic for my next couple books. So I'm starting up a series there. I don't even have a name for it, but I'm doing my own twist on that stuff. Of course, it involves medical science, so I'm going to keep it all in. But I'm going to give that a whirl just because, one of the lessons I learned with the medical thriller genre is there's not as many people doing as well in the self-publishing world of that yet. That being said, some people are successful, but in post-apoc, it's not like it's going to be a super lucky hit, but more people, more voracious readers, I think, post-apocalyptic fiction that I'm ready to write for, and it's been a lot of fun experimenting with that, blending in a little bit of my medical science with that.
Nice. Probably a good plan too. More variety, better chance of capturing readers.
What I learned quickly is, you got to analyze those Amazon top seller charts and really see where there's a great audience willing to read a bunch of books and try a bunch of new authors.
So your biomedical children's book isn't going to be coming out anytime soon. Augmented jaw lines and stuff like that. Just all these different
and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Would you please pass the potatoes?
Awkward robot uncle.
Asking about, would your zombies be slow or fast? Who was that? As a biomedical engineer, from your professional opinion, would your zombies be slow or fast?
Virus or otherwise.
Fast. Yeah, fast. We're going with like 28 days later. You gotta run the hell out of there because these guys are, cold-blooded killers.
Like that. As much as I enjoy it, especially when I was a teen, it definitely doesn't scare me anymore.
No, the idea that those things could outrun you, or keep up, it suddenly makes them that much more scary to me.
Exactly, and it's the same thing. Like I can't watch The Walking Dead because I know the drama is because of characters, but if I have to hear one more person say, "The zombies are not the Walking Dead, the people are the Walking Dead," get that all up in such a nice little package and deliver me. Still have zombies 5 miles an hour. Come on. Yeah. Yes, the briskly sprint
Catch you.
I'm not boasting that. I'm saying the whole concept is asinine. In that made-up world, probably, because I think I have just as good odds in Narnia. Because both.
That's true. Very true. Okay.
Kate Moore just said Romero's zombies are right up there with Carpenter's vamp. Very true.
Very, very true. All right. Yeah, it's Michelle's turn, I guess.
Dark chocolate or white chocolate? That's a question. Hold on.
That's actually.
I don't know. It's got to be the day. I have a question for myself if you want. One thing, if you are interested in getting in some believable science or you want cool science concepts, I don't know how many authors actively are seeking or are interested in learning from actual people, engineers or whatever in their field. One of your best resources are if you've got a local university, college, even community college or whatever, and you can look up professors and other people that work there. A lot of the academics are open to just answering questions from random people because the number one thing, they live and breathe science. They love to talk about it. So anybody that's in science fiction or are interested in that, don't be afraid to shoot an email and say, hey, I saw you on this on your website, saw your research. I'm writing a book about this. And well, most of them, I'm not going to promise everybody is, but actually, I've helped a couple people with like medical science questions, and I know a couple other my colleagues have done that before. And like I said, those people that live and breathe science love talking about science. So don't ever be afraid to approach those people, even if it's just a silly email with what you think is a silly question.
The worst I can do is say no.
That's great.
That's awesome advice. Actually, that's going to help me on my work right now, my work in progress now. So
I went to college if I could sit in a college classroom because I was writing a book 4, and everyone was like, "No, you can't do that."
Like just sit in the back of the classroom or something.
That you're just trying to get in on their classes.
No, I don't know.
On Gilmore Girls, they were pretty good.
More girls, please.
On that last sparked another question. Do people ever call you out if you've made a mistake or?
I would say I wish I had a perfect answer for that, but I have a tendency where I'll try to put too much justification and science into it, which can, that you don't want to do an info dump, I'd say. But you also don't want to just do the hand waving so your science fiction turns into fantasy. So if you can at least reference real concepts and turn it into language everybody can understand, I think that goes a lot further. I know, more importantly, if you're doing medical stuff, you're going to run into less scientists that are gonna pick you apart if you do a little bit of science wrong, but you definitely don't want any concepts for instance, a buddy of mine's gonna hate me later for this, but he was calling viruses cells, and viruses are actually non-living organisms, so they are by definition cells. So if you get something wrong like that, and anybody that's in takes biology courses and stuff like that will pick up on that, and be prepared for scientific inaccuracy. The other thing I've seen is if people refer to medical science stuff wrong, there's a ton of doctors and nurses out there in the world, and there's a lot of them that are good readers, and they'll notice that stuff, pick that up like that. So for instance, if you're talking about a syringe and a needle, the syringe is the plastic part, the tube part where your medicine or your injection is, and the needle obviously is the metal part that sticks in your skin. I've seen somebody say, I stick the syringe into my skin, but you don't stick the syringe into your skin, and if you can stick a syringe into your skin, there's something drastically wrong. You've got a huge. So little things like that that most people wouldn't catch, there will be, it's always helpful to run by somebody in the field just to make sure that you didn't get something that doesn't seem like a big deal to you, but is a big deal to the science or the medical people, because they will, they love, like I said, they love talking science, they love talking about what they know, so if they can prove you wrong, they're going to do it.
I do.
Some people are nice to send you an email, and then there's people that'll, publicly throw that on the reviews and stuff and try to embarrass you, so, it's battle.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
Yeah, when it comes to, like you said, info dumping is definitely, you don't want that, and you don't want to be sparse on things. Your science, if it is supposed to be broken science.
Yeah.
If like Terry Pratchett's a great example. Mentions, and suddenly it's all science fiction, and all the tone of the book completely shifts, and instead of the main character being Rincewind the Wizard, he's Dr. Reisfond, a German scientist, and they've switched to another sub-reality, and so throughout, but for that one little scene in the middle of the chapter where they switch over, there's so much addressing to stars, nebula, and cosmic explosions drifting towards that sci-fi area, and it's only there because it's given the context that they're no longer within a fantasy world.
Yeah.
So when suddenly all this, gibberish comes in, as far as scientific, descriptions of actual science, but it can be done for the sake of comedy too, you know, and like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and Doctor Who, those are great examples of those. You know, if the science can be reduced to timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly, you can do that, but make sure that you're doing that for...
That's another good point. Excellent. Tony, do you have any... what are your aspirations, or where do you want this to go? Obviously, you have a really cool job, awesome job. Do you foresee yourself keeping that forever and just doing the writing on the side, or is it something that you'd like to write full-time if you could? Or
You know, that's a tough one. That's like a moral dilemma, because I would definitely love to keep doing what I'm doing from the science level, because that's gratifying, but I have to admit, you know, working in the lab every day, sometimes it sounds cooler than what we're actually doing, and when we're working with tissue engineering stuff, a lot of what we're doing can be broken down into we're moving one liquid from a plastic container to another plastic container. It's not so cool when you come into the lab. So there's definitely days where I think, you know, dropping all that and doing this full time would be great. But then I feel like I'm committing treason or something after supporting science education and, you know, all these people saying we need people in science and research. So hopefully that decision is off in a few years.
student loans too.
It definitely pays the bills.
I'm sure it probably pays him pretty well, actually. So that's good.
He's like making my brain hurt.
Anything